Okay, so we're back again with some pole position. I got a pretty good run for the qualifying lap. Yeah, yesterday. No, it was Tuesday now. 56.77. Apparently, 56.73 is possible. So I'm going to be trying to go for that time and hopefully finishing the race. I have finished the race on the Retron 77, which is like an emulation machine, which you can use cartridges with, but I still need to be able to do it on an actual proper console. So I've got my 7800 out with various games, including Pole Position 2. This is Pole Position 1 currently in the machine. It is a PAL machine, but because the qualifying lap is in game time, I don't think it really matters about whether it's PAL or NTSC. So that's really great for me because it means I might actually be able to be competitive. And I think there is some leeway in some of the time as well. So I think there's the chance I can maybe catch up with the other guys who are doing 56.73 on emulation, and hopefully I can do it on a console. So that'll be really good. So I'm going to try and play this first, see if I can finish an actual race, which will be good. I'm recording this not just for free streaming, but I'm recording the raw footage with just the gameplay. So cutting off my ugly mug and my ticker on the bottom, which I've re-established. Hopefully explaining a few things about what I do when I stream and sort of the notifications when they pop up. Yeah, so hopefully I can upload some sort of pure footage as well. So not just me talking endlessly while crashing into cars and going off the road. And we'll see how it goes. It'd be really nice to do some in television as well, get some turbo on the go. I do have turbo on the ColecoVision, but I don't have a working wheel. I do have a wheel which is not working, and I've tried to do it with the rollerball controller, and you can sort of get it so it goes fast, but I've only ever managed to get past the first lap on the ColecoVision one, so it's not really ideal. I'm probably going to end up having to buy a new wheel eventually for that game, but I do have it on in television, and I think I'll have to let that pass for now. It's obviously very different in television and ColecoVision games of turbo, but I just have to work with what I've got. So I'm going to try and play through as many Formula 1 games as I can over a long period of time. It's not going to be today only, obviously. I'd really like to be able to play the license games and try and play them like full races, full laps, proper conditions. That's the aim. But I'm going to start in kind of like the order of release. And Pole Position is the first one. Now the reason why it's Pole Position and not Grand Prix, because Grand Prix also came out on the Atari, is because I'm going to try and limit it to those with like a PAL or UK release. So surprisingly, I don't think Grand Prix actually officially came out in the UK for the Atari 2600. So that's why I'm going to be avoiding that game. There was a German copy, but obviously it's a German copy, not a UK copy. And I do have a copy, but it is NTSC, it's not a PAL version. I say this, Pole Position is actually an NTSC copy as well, it's not a PAL copy. But it did get released in the UK and does have a PAL version, so that's my justification for doing that one. And hopefully we can just sort of go through it. It would be nice to get the Atari and television ones out the way because they use my VHS machine, which is literally underneath my laptop right now. And it's a bit of a pig to try and get all the wires connected, so I've got my... Do I dare move it? Now I've like set everything up. So I've got my Atari console here. That's wired through a normal RF cable. That's going into my VHS, which is Panasonic. Not that it makes much difference. That transcodes it into a composite signal through SCART. That SCART then goes to a SCART HDMI adapter, and that eventually goes into my Elgato HD through HDMI, which takes about half an hour to set up every time. I really don't understand why it's so finicky, and I've always had trouble. I don't know whether it's this laptop I use, but every single capture card I've ever used, there's always a problem, so it takes a long time to set up. So I've got my microphone propped up on my NES. I've got my laptop here propped up a bit higher than normal, just so I'm a bit more comfortable. Got my console got my adapters, got the VHS, and I've just got like the games ready for later. And in the corner of the room, I do have my television if I do get around to playing that. I do have an Uno cart, so not only do I have Retron 77, which is an emulation machine for 2600, but I do have an Uno cart as well. So it's not quite as capable as Harmony Encore, which is like the upgraded version of the Harmony. You can't play things like the Gallagher D-Make, but you can play most games on it. So really handy. It's quite cheap actually as well. I think it's like less than 60 quid. So a good investment if you are into Atari homebrew but can't afford to buy every individual game that comes out on the homebrew scene individually. Most games are available on sites like Atari Age, where you can download it for free, and that's completely legitimate. That's the people giving it up for free as a ROM, and they just make a very small amount of money when they sell it on a cartridge, which all the best to them, for the hard work in coding games, and something I try and do as well. So hopefully in the future I'll have some of my own homebrew games. But anyway, that's that. So back to sort of what I explained on Tuesday, playing some Formula 1 games on the NES, which is why my microphone's still propped up on the NES. Basically with my kids, and it just made me think about my uncle. My uncle was a very big Formula 1 fan, and in this sort of sense, this is just sort of respecting his memory, just something to remember him by, because he was probably quite a big influence, because he watched it a lot for me, watching it when I was growing up. Now I admit that I don't actually watch Formula 1 anymore, but the memories are still there. So I say to this to people like I used to watch Damon Hill in his last few years, Michael Schumacher obviously, Jenson Button was just getting into his career, although not very successful compared to Lewis Hamilton when he came in. I think the last championship I watched was when Lewis Hamilton won his first championship. So I started to break off from Formula 1 around then and sort of do other things. It's just wasn't my thing anymore. But the memories are still there, and just playing the games with my kids, because they could just about play some of the Formula 1 games on the NES, just made me thinking. So just in respect, I'm sort of going to try out some Formula 1 games, because I've bought so many games over the years for this kind of sport, and to be honest, I don't really play them very much. I enjoy them, but I often don't have the time to play them. So when I've got a free moment here and now, I'm going to try and play them, and it's going to be hopefully full races when I get to sort of N64 stage where there's realistic settings and stuff. So that'll be hopefully quite fun. But until then, we've got all these unlicensed products that came first, because it wasn't always official. It wasn't always names and stuff, like team names and things like that. So here's pole position. I'm going to stop blabbering now and just play the game. So I'm aiming for 56.73. We'll see how that goes, and that would match me with two other users who have played it on emulation. And then I'm going to try and finish a race, because one of the things that Speedrun site doesn't have is a full race time, and I would really like to get one on a console rather than emulation, and I'll try and submit that when I have it. So hopefully I can do that today. As soon as I've done that, I'm going to switch over to pole position 2. Hopefully that won't take me very long. It might even only be one race, so that would be pretty cool, and we'll just see how that goes. Now in this game, down is to change gear to high and up to low. Pressing the button will brake, although I've found you really don't want to press it if you can help it. I think I've just gone into low, which is a bit strange, but it's very easy to do. Having high as up is very much more natural position, I find. And in pole position 2 that is the case. Oh, got caught at the end there. Last corner as well. Okay. Not brilliant, but it was better than what I did on my first run, which I submitted. So now we're on the actual race. Generally, what you're looking at is to not crash. You can manage going off the road like that to avoid people who are crossing lanes, but that is probably the most time loss you want to really receive, and you don't want to do it too often, otherwise you'll start running out of time when you get to the later laps. I'm pretty sure this is similar to pole position 2, which has a 5-lap race, and each lap should take about 60 seconds roughly. That's the sort of time you can manage. So we go, there's 58 seconds for the first lap, that's fine. And you get, pretty sure you get about 60 seconds added to the timer. You do in pole position 2. And you can manage about 1 crash until it starts going a bit silly and you start running out of time. Because the main thing is probably the fact that you're cutting your speed more than the crash itself. You want that consistent speed, and that one's just gone and crossed on a corner. That is often where you get caught, when on a corner they decide to go, veer off onto the other lane, and you have to switch. So I've been quite fortunate, although it does feel like it's quite a lot of time. You might have noticed that the clock timer on the top and the lap time don't seem to really click. So that was apparently only, 2 seconds longer than my first lap, but I only seem to have 61 seconds to do the third lap. It doesn't really quite feel like it matches. And that might be just because of the programming on the 2600, the timing may not be programmably logical because of the way that it handled numbers. So I managed to get 54 and then crashed, so that's probably it for this run. Veered off too much there. I don't think I'm gonna do it this time. So I think 1 crash is probably like the limit of what you can survive, and then it pretty much goes to nothing. I need to be very lucky for this to work now. It's not going to be enough. Oh, there we go. And that's how easy it is to lose. So the thing is trying to learn the biting point where you need to go into high. I think that's really going to be the only thing that's going to make a lot of difference in terms of my PB. This one's definitely going to cross. No, it's not. Surprised. I've had very little people crossing me this time. which is a little bit strange. 57.10. Whoa. I don't think it did a lot wrong that time. So it's one of these kind of games where 75 seconds is plenty to start with, because if you're always getting about 60 seconds each lap, and each lap takes 60 seconds at max, you have plenty of time. But then you crash, and then that doesn't work. I don't think it is 60 seconds, is it though? I think it's slightly less, because I ended up with 70, I'm sure. So I started with 75 and ended up with 70 in the end of the first lap, but I did 58 seconds, so that doesn't quite fit, does it? That one's crossing over. That one is as well, thank you. No, it crossed over twice, I'm sure. Oh, come on. That was the worst point to do it. Right, I'm on to 62 seconds now. Maybe I'm not responding too much, so maybe I should just get a comfortable position and stop sort of wiggling it as I go. Right, I've not got enough time to finish this. I don't know what lap I'm on. Is it 4? Don't think I'm moving on the last lap yet. There is no chance. I'm surprised I got through that one actually, to be honest. Yeah, I knew you were going to do that. Crossing my path. That one did as well. Ah. Okay, let's reset. Right, got pretty close this last time for the qualifying lap. Just need to lose another half a second. That's where you slow down on those edges. That's going to be the thing that stops me getting a better time now. Whoops. That was not a flawless lap, I can tell you that. And there's about 2 more corners. Is this the last corner? Eh, getting there. Not quite there yet. This is a good lap. That's a good first lap. It doesn't feel like it in terms of time though. Seems like it's worse. I was not liking that one. I knew that was going to do that. Ugh. They're all doing it. I don't think they crossed path more than once, but I'm pretty sure I got screwed on the last one, where it definitely went back again. So that's 2 laps. 52 seconds as well, that's not bad. Veered off the edge as well quite a bit for that one. Ooh, that was close. Ah, what am I doing? I messed that up. That was like doing a crash. Might as well have crashed there. Right, that's 3 laps. Oh, and I crashed. Just when I didn't need it. Hey, did it. Was that 4 laps? It feels like 4 laps. Pretty sure that was 4 laps. Anyway, that seems like that's been successful.